How's the stash?
Glorious.
That's what I'm talking about. This is StacheCast. Let's go.
So work that waiver wire, make those trades. Do what you got to do. Let's go. Don't be a quitter. Don't be a quitter.
Come on. Do you even want to win?
Jared's like, I'm going to drink a beer a hole, and then does.
Now you get to date your favorite color.
Played the School of the Blind 3
you
times.
You nobody.
All girls school. Way to go.
You're fighting nobody.
So they got 11 guys that want to kick your ass too.
Nia Long, man. Nia freaking Long.
It has been uphill both ways through shit creek.
I'll be naked, passed out somewhere on the floor. Hopefully it's just my own room.
Their offense is great. Their defense makes me want to shit down both legs.
I'm not playing for the next 2 hours. Bring me some chicken.
He's not superstitious, but that sumbitch is a little stitious. I'll tell you that. There ain't no doubt about it.
StacheCast, baby.
Yes, sir. This is StacheCast. As always, presented by Nashville Stash from downtown Nashville. Weather's been, nice for the past few days. It's actually admittedly made me a happier person. The cold, wet, gray, dreary days just suck the life out of me sometimes, you know what I mean? But we've had absolutely beautiful weather here in Middle Tennessee, and we have an amazing show today. It's Super Bowl week. Lots to talk about there. Basketball, both NBA and college. They've got big headlines across the sports. Shower Thoughts is with JJ will be as ridiculous as ever. The Professor Sports Business will be a little bit later that I'm really looking forward to. But before we get into that, as always, I am proudly joined by my beautiful sidekick, K-Love. Thank you for being here. We're glad to have you back. Mr. Everything, Dad of the Year, and loyal participant of Woman Crush Wednesday every week without fail, Joe Hudson. We call him Tweeter, and director of team travel for the Cleveland Guardians, who just hired their first on-field female coach, I'm calling her AK-47. She sounds like a badass. She's already getting in there and mixing it up. Jared Jones, we call him JJ. Welcome to the show, man. We're glad you're here. Alex Alper, the Professor, our betting guru. And, although he rarely bets, he's very, 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 very good at picking these bets. We're glad to have you here, buddy. But Johny Walsh is with us today, you guys. Johny is an actress. She's a writer, a marathon runner, former D1 athlete. And the most impressive stat on her resume is that she is still claiming Alex as her boyfriend. So we're really proud of her for that. Obviously, I'm kidding. We love Alex. And we're beyond stoked that you're here, Johny. We've been talking about it all weekend. Thank you for being here, first of all. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And I just had a fun fact, and it only just hit me right now when you mentioned Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
I was the voice of the Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee's Power of One campaign that just was released in October. So all the commercials about that's the power of one. That was me.
That's your voice? I've heard that commercial a whole lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I know
was
exactly
me.
who that is. Yeah.
That is cool. Well, I'm looking forward to, you're going to have to explain a lot of the things you do, because you've done a lot of film stuff. You've done some TV stuff. You do a lot of voiceover stuff, which I think is really cool. That's, the Second Harvest Food Bank thing being one of them. But, I can't, you're going to have to explain a lot of that stuff, because we do not know what you're talking about when it comes to that world, but we're excited to have you here. What I really want to hear to start us off is you and Alex went to the LA Coliseum on Sunday for the Clash at the Coliseum, a little NASCAR, a little wrong. How was that? Was that something?
It was incredible. I'm officially a NASCAR girl now. I vroom-vroomed the whole time. They do this thing where they jut the tires from side to side to warm up the tires before the race. And I didn't know what that was. So I just started doing it. And then I found out why. And then the whole time, during the race, I was like, babe, when we drive home, let's pretend we're race car drivers. And he was like, let's not do that. And I was like, I love it'd be really fun. I'm trying.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's something I would do. Yeah, I love it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was my second year going to the Clash at the Coliseum. My brother, actually, I have 4 older brothers. So my oldest of my 4 older brothers is like the head IT guy for Hendrix Motorsports.
Oh,
And that's Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, and William Byron. And I like did all this research before I went. So I was very excited. I know their names, I know their cars. Technically our tickets were actually from William Byron, which is pretty cool.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although
So we
he could
got
have walked by and I
probably
been
wouldn't
like,
have known.
No idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
no idea.
But still, when you walked up
Yeah.
to the window, though, you're like, yeah, we got a few tickets. Yeah, William Byron.
Yeah, super
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
No big deal.
We had like VIP stuff. So we got to like obviously watch the qualifying things on Sunday and the actual Clash race. But we also, with our passes, got to like go back, see all the garages, see them break down all of the cars after the race.
Oh, yeah.
Which like, I think the race is really cool. And I like love seeing cars go super fast. But then like afterwards, seeing them like test every car, and it has to be a certain weight, and there has to be like, there's a 2 tents that the cars go through, and there's like a million laser beams that basically like cross-examine the cars to make sure they're like not cheating in any way.
Right.
And then they bring them out of the tents and they put them behind these garages. And within like, I don't know, 10 minutes, those suckers are like broken down up on a lift in the top of the truck and like ready to go. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Just like the Pinewood Derby. When we were scouts.
Exactly.
Yeah, a little
Exactly
bit
the
like
same
that.
thing.
A little bit like that. I felt like
Honestly,
go ahead, Alex.
Sorry. The track isn't much bigger than Pinewood Derby though, because
That's what I was going to say. It looked like a little
the Memorial Coliseum. It's a quarter mile.
What's
the
typical?
It's quick.
Which is
Does
a
anybody
10-minute scene in
know
Fast and
what a
Furious.
typical lap is on a NASCAR track? Like what's Daytona, for example?
I don't know what Daytona is, but the one outside of LA in Fontana, which is in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
That's a 2 mile track, and so they do 200 laps.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many did they do at the Coliseum? Like 5,000?
No, so because it's technically not like a 4 points race, it's only an exhibition. So the final like Clash, the big race, was 150 laps, but they stop midway through after 75 so they can do like a Wiz Khalifa halftime performance,
Really?
which was actually very entertaining. And as someone
sure
who
it
like
was.
hates Pittsburgh, I really love that Black and Yellow song. And I always like feel this
Aw.
like pang of guilt singing it, but I'm
A
like, I
little
don't
bit,
care. It
yeah,
slaps,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, let's go.
Um,
That's interesting.
and
Wiz
then
Khalifa
they
at
do
a
the second.
NASCAR show at the LA Coliseum on a short track. It just sounds like you said, somebody said, hey, pick 5 things that don't go together. We're going to do it. You know,
Cypress Hill
and it
was
goes
the
together
band to
so
be in.
well. Everybody
Hill?
loves it.
What
Like,
is it
come
for
on,
NASCAR
like-
in California.
It sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
And yeah, people go nuts in Fontana. That's one of the bigger races of the year. Like, it's really interesting to me how many things that are not quote unquote California that Californians go nuts over. The Stagecoach Festival out there is one of the bigger festivals. Everybody talks about the Coachella and the Burning Man and the weirdness and the wildness, but Stagecoach is one of the bigger festivals. And it was one of the most fun things that I did while I was out there. But that's crazy that NASCAR is at the Coliseum now. And that's what, the second year they've done that?
Yeah. So the second year in a row. I will say a fun fact was that last year when we went, there were only 5 like cautions or 3 cautions in the whole Clash race
Like
of
an
150
accident.
laps.
Oh, okay.
Like everybody has to stop and slow down so they can clean it up or whatever. And then this year it was like 25. So it was almost like they'd get 1 lap and then they'd have to do another caution. So that was not as fun as last year, but it was still overall really, really cool.
They were
Well, that
blazing
sounds-
up with Wiz.
Yeah, right. Well, like Kristen's familiar with the Bristol Motor Speedway that's up in East Tennessee, and only because Tennessee played Virginia Tech in the opening night a few years back, and it was an amazing game.
That was awesome.
And they set a record for most people at a football game, and it was quite an exhibition. But it's a really cool track. It's one of those tracks that's really, it brings a very cool vibe, and it's one of those fun places to go. I had the opportunity back when I was working in music to go to a few racetracks, and working at a racetrack is like anything you've ever seen. The smell of it, the being close to it, the sounds of the vehicles, how fast they go, but how fast the pit crews move, and how in sync everything else. It's like nothing you've ever seen. So I encourage anybody who's never been to a race to go do it. I'm really jealous that you guys got to be there up close and see it and have such a cool experience. Because I mean, 2 nights before that, you're courtside at USC. I mean, you guys are just doing it up out there in LA. I'm very jealous at all this. What else are you guys up to?
I have a performance team that I'm on that does musical improv. So we basically will have an audience come and we'll get a suggestion from them of something random. And then we'll create a completely improvised, basically like musical play in like half an hour where we'll like make up all of the characters, all of the scenes, all of the songs. The music is also improvised. We have an accompanist and, I'm not going to say it's like highbrow drama. Like we had a song about a character who pooped every time she got sad. She
that's like
sad and shit
JJ.
herself.
JJ, that's like JJ. He poops a lot.
I mean, JJ would go because
Well,
there
I was
is
gonna play.
free beer at this event. Free beer at this event.
That's
Yeah.
a no-brainer then.
Yeah.
Definitely
So
go
it's
check that out.
So
Yeah.
musical improv, you're acting improv, all on the cuff. That's amazing. That the talent that people have never ceases to amaze me. And the off the cuff stuff I think is like interesting because some people could do it like once. Like you got your buddy who comes up with a good one-liner every now and then, but people who do it as on a regular basis. Yeah, Alex has a couple good moments, right? But the people who do it on a regular basis is something that's very, very interesting to me because the creativity has no bounds in that space. Like you have to be able to go to a place very quickly and it has to go somewhere. Like you gotta just start talking and your brain has to catch up, right?
Yeah. It's interesting too. I am somebody who believes that 99% of things are like learnable skills, right? So I think that they're like, if you set your mind to do something, anybody has sort of the capability of doing it if they put in the work and they really commit to something. And even musical improv, like there's people who are like musically inclined, right? There are some people who have amazingly beautiful voices, right? Like that's like a God-given gift. Like you're not going to just necessarily wake up one day and, be able to sing. But in terms of like the scene work or the, like making up songs on the fly or the rhyming of things, there are just like exercises that you can like learn that are, it's almost like practice, like that you can practice over and over. It can't teach you,
so to speak.
Yeah, it doesn't teach you how to like just come up with a funny idea. But if you come up with a funny idea, it can sort of help you rhyme with it and structure it in a way that like makes sense to other people.
Oh yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. I usually start thinking about something and I'm like, hell yeah, that goes good. That sounds good. And then I'm like, I had it. And then I lost it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
JJ never had it. JJ never had it. He's just walking around like, shit, I wish I had it.
Piece of shit. I mean, I get music and you can improv off that, or you got improv and you can go with the music, but 2 in 1, it's like a bukkake. It's just too much going on for me, man. I mean, and learn skills, shit. I've been trying to learn not to shit my pants for 30 years, and here we are. So I'll keep on trying to get.
Don't give up. Don't give up.
Yeah, keep trying, little buddy.
No quitters on this show.
Yeah, we don't quit. We don't quit. Oh man, I tell you what, I got a fart or I got a shit, and both of them are going to require the fire department. That's JJ's motto.
My son asked me tonight. He said, "What's the most dangerous place in the world?" I said, "The bathroom after you drink a gallon of milk."
Jeez Louise. What a crazy bunch of, and like I said, Johnny, I apologize in advance. Kristen is very used to the brevity in which the conversations can go on the show, but I will apologize to you that there's no telling. As soon as we start cracking open shower thoughts, and there's no really telling where this thing's going to go. So I appreciate you holding on tight. Buckle up. So
Johnny, I'll let you know in one little segment, I got a classmate of mine that actually runs in the NASCAR, and he ran the race in LA, and his dad owns a trailer park, the mobile home. That's what he sells for a living. So that lets you know where I'm from. I'm making fucking bus times. He's driving around a fucking circle racetrack. So Bum Hills in Indiana, here I am, man. We're still trying to learn not to poop our pants.
I applaud the effort. You're still trying really hard and you're doing great. So far, so good. I haven't heard any episodes lately. But it is Super Bowl week, folks. It is Super Bowl week. It is the game. It's coming up. I've got Fly Eagles Fly. We've got Super Bowl sweatshirts. Johny, you're diehard Eagles. Let's talk about that. I know that you went to Villanova in college, which is and where is Villanova exactly for those of us who don't know?
Villanova's on the main line in Pennsylvania. It's about 20 minutes outside of Philadelphia, Center City. Okay.
And you're from up there, yeah?
I'm from southern New Jersey, a very small little farm town called Tabernacle. It's not on most maps, but it is there. And then I went to boarding school for high school in Pennsylvania as well, in Pottstown. And then that was about 2 hours from Philly. And then I went to Villanova for college, and then I moved out here.
And have you been a Philly fan since before you got to Villanova, or did that develop later?
So New Jersey basically splits into North and South Jersey, and Southern New Jersey tends to be Philadelphia fans, and then Northern New Jersey goes to be like Giants fans, Rangers fans, like the New York teams. So it's like it's almost like having two separate states that just have their allegiances go to two other states.
So the Philly thing, like it's Philly fans are notorious, right? They have a reputation.
Notoriously awesome.
Philly fans are mean. Okay.
Oh,
they're mean notoriously. We're throwing snowballs with rocks in them at Santa Claus. Like we are a hateful bunch. Now, is that something that is a learned trait as an Eagle fan, or is that something that as soon as you put the jersey on, like you're just like, oh yeah, fuck these bitches. Like I'm about to start getting weird and I want to start throwing snowballs hard because
so like I said, everything's a learnable skill. You know what I mean? Okay. Like if you want to be a Philadelphia fan, it's like just you have to practice at it and you can just be one. So no. Here's the thing. The snowballs at Santa Claus thing, that was like decades ago. Like and I have to say, like, I love that people still bring it up because it's almost like a warning of like, don't fuck with Philly. But also
it's kind of a don't fuck with Philly. Yeah.
But also like it's been so long and so far removed. So like the people who were like the age doing that are now like probably not going to games because they are in like walkers and stuff. Okay.
Sure, probably.
You know, that being said, like, you know, fuck the Mets. Dallas sucks. Fuck the Giants.
Let's go.
But I've been to a number of games, right? And I will say, like, you have sometimes fights break out, but more often than not, it's like Philadelphia fans fighting each other as opposed to Philadelphia fans fighting other fans.
They're just mean. They're even mean to
they're
each other.
They're just drunk. You know what I mean?
Drunk and passionate. Right?
Drunk and
passionate. That's right. So I guess that's you know, it's kind of a thing. One of my favorite memes that I've seen, Philadelphia memes that I've seen over the last couple of weeks is the one that has the four corners of all the past teams who have some idiot has went and put the other team's jersey on the Rocky statue before a big game, which is the kiss of death. Like,
yes, it is.
Everybody who's done it. Wow.
Yeah.
See you. Night. Not even close. And I'm like, y'all need to quit fucking with Rocky. First of all, like, stop. Rocky's Rocky. Like, leave him alone. Second
and
of all,
they already moved
attention.
Him.
They
moved Rocky. He used to be at the top of the steps. So the whole thing used to run up to the top of the art museum, and Rocky was up there. So then you could like jump like him at the top. But then I don't know, 6-ish maybe years ago, they moved him down to the bottom, which I don't know why they did that. And a lot of Philadelphia didn't like it. So, but since then, you know, we've won a Super Bowl and we've gotten to the World Series again. So I don't know, maybe it's working out.
Yeah, I agree. Show him like celebrating after he ran back down the stairs. It was like not made it back, down. Like
the whole point is when you make it to the top.
But that statue would be like him, like hunched over with his hands. He's like, "Yo, Adrian." You know?
I think if the Bengals won, it would have been kind of dope to do the jersey thing there because of the eye of the tiger. That would have been appropriate. But the Bengals didn't win.
Yeah. So too bad, so sad. So the Eagles have been kicking ass and taking names for a hot minute. I'm talking like since August. They've been whipping everybody's ass for a hot minute. One of the things that came up in a conversation today, which I thought was actually kind of interesting, was they mollywopped the Giants, and it wasn't even a close game. They were sitting them at halftime. And then Purdy gets his elbow hurt, and they can't even – you're facing a team that doesn't even have the physically doesn't have the ability to throw the football for 3/4 of the game. Even though the 49ers defense gave it everything that they possibly had, the Eagles were in control, and it was never really in question. You have 2 layup games, then you have a couple weeks off. Where's the letdown? Is there a letdown? We've been waiting on it all year. It hasn't happened.
Well, I mean, I would argue that we were undefeated for so long, and then we lost to the Commanders, and truly lost, like starting lineup lost, right? And that was a huge letdown for us. And we played like shit. Like, we didn't lose that game because we played our best and we were this undefeated team who showed up undefeated, and the Commanders just rocked us because we played so well and it was fair or whatever. We shouldn't have lost that game because we should have played better. We should have been playing the way that we had all season, and we didn't. So we deserved to lose it, right? And that was really disappointing because it wasn't really that good a game. Did
Minshew start that game?
No. Jalen Hurts started that game. That was what snapped our winning streak.
I was just
Minshew started our other 2 losses, which actually were close losses. Not that that matters. At the end of the day, everybody just looks at the wins and losses anyway. You know what I mean? Which sucks because I'm also a Villanova fan and we've had so many close losses. It's fine.
Well, we ain't playing horseshoes and hand grenades, are we, Johnny?
No, we're not. But I think what is really special about this Eagles team is how bonded they are as a team. Like, I think if you show me, and like this, Andy Reid was in Philadelphia for 14 years. So I think he's an incredible coach and he builds a strong team, and he also has his locker room. But that being said, in 2 seasons, Nick Sirianni has like built this entire community and this entire culture, and he like has that locker room. Those players trust him. Those players want to win for him. And I think that his whole attitude coming into a Super Bowl of like, we're not done. It's all one game at a time. Like, yeah, we can celebrate winning like the NFC Championship, but that's not our ultimate goal. And we've all been dreaming about this at different stages in our life. And like, it's here now. And like, it's exciting to be a Philadelphia fan right now. Mm-hmm. And it's really exciting to be an Eagles fan because, one, I think we're going to win. And I don't mean that as like this, like blinded, like following, whatever hysteria Eagles fan, but I mean it as like, even this season, these wins that we've had, some of them have been boring. And I mean that in the best way, is like, I am okay with it. I'm okay with these boring games because we do things the way that we need to. We do them well. We execute plays. This is the first time Jalen Hurts has had the same offense 2 years in a row. Like, he's had to learn a bajillion different offenses. He has experienced Tua coming in and getting to play in the championship game and him not getting to play in the championship game right at Alabama. So he's already seen the disappointments of like, this was my shot and then I didn't have it. Like, he's like a young guy
at halftime. So that's a little bit of an extra.
Yeah. But that's what I mean is like, you have somebody who's like already had these like major disappointments as a young person who doesn't want to feel those same feelings again. So will do everything within his power and surround himself with a team that really wants it too, to achieve the ultimate goal. I'll
say this to have just to toss it over to JJ, because JJ's I think that the rah-rah, this team and Sirianni and the thing, I don't think that has as much of it doesn't have as much of a driving force in professional sports as it does in college sports. I think that the fact that the Eagles are the most complete team from Sirianni to the water boy.
Yeah.
Defense, special teams. I think that at this stage in the game, it would be really hard to try to quantitate the Chiefs want to and their give a shit level compared to the Eagles. Now, I just think the Eagles are a better team at every level. I think they're harder on the front line. I think they have better linebackers. I think they have better secondary. I think they got a better quarterback. And I think they got, I think they got better weapons on the outside. Now, Mahomes has got Kelsey. And everybody says every week, it's just one guy, right? Just one guy. Well, Valdez-Scantling has a record or has a career day last week, and that's the guy that gets him over the hump. Who's the guy this week? And just being devil's advocate, who's the guy for the Chiefs? If I'm the Eagles and I've shut Kelsey down, because that's obviously what I'm focusing on. I'm shutting Kelsey down. Who's the other guy that you've got to where does it go? Because Mahomes is going to still be fairly limited. He's not going to be taken off like fucking Lamar Jackson or something. He's going to be fairly not immobile, but he's going to be stationary-ish. So if we're covering up Kelsey, who's the other guy? Where do they go? Alex?
I think you go at the ankles of every wide receiver because they might play like 4 or 5 downs each and then be done. So
just
like whoever wide
breathe
receiver
on a
steps
joint.
in,
breathe on a joint.
Like who knows? Honestly, maybe a running back if they can get their running game started. It's a good question. I got 2 points though. One, I don't think there is a coach in the NFL that embodies their team like Nick Sirianni does. The man is from Philadelphia or the Philadelphia-ish area. And you look at that guy and you're like, if he wasn't the coach, if he wasn't working in the NFL, he would be at that game throwing snowballs at the other team.
Right. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
And I love when you get coaches that are like, oh my God, this person embodies this team unlike anybody else.
Right.
Like
that's great for the narrative. That's
seen...
great for Hollywood. It's great for the conversation. It's great for the show. But on the field, I don't necessarily think that when it comes down to it, that it matters as much. I can tell you what, there's 45 guys in Goodyear, Arizona that'll run through a fucking brick wall for Tito Francona, but they got their ass handed to them in New York because why? The more complete team won. Now, I want the Eagles to win for those reasons, because the story and Nick Sirianni and him being a dog and him being local and him feeling it and him bleeding green and all those things make it more entertaining when he's just
cocky,
doing, after they score touchdowns, it makes it more exciting for me, right? As somebody who's not an Eagles fan.
Yeah, but I would argue stepping away from the Eagles, right? In Nick Sirianni's first season, he turned it around and got us to the playoffs, which was like not expected at all. That really shows a team last season that has a coach that has his locker room. The other example I can point to is Dan Campbell in Detroit. Detroit was like a 2-win season last season and finished over 500 this year. And that is somebody too that embodies the city in which he's coaching. He is the perfect fit for that city, and that whole locker room loves him, right? They want to win for him. Obviously, they want to win in and of. Right. Yeah. Listen, if you're playing at the professional level, you should inherently want to win. You're getting paid enough that winning should be your goal. Full stop. Do I think that there is an added advantage to like buying into your coach? Sure. I think it probably makes it easier on the days where you're like, what the hell am I doing? You have a bad practice, knowing that, hey, my coach has my back. Right. I think that
compare it to Dallas, compare it to the way Denver was before, compared to some of these buildings where the coaches don't have the locker room, right? And how toxic every aspect of the team is. So I'm not discounting what Sirianni's doing and the fact that what he's doing and how he's done it over the past 2 years has a huge part in how they've gotten to where they've gotten, and probably why they'll stay there for a while. I'm just looking at the X's and O's aspect of it, because there's a team on the other side that's going to wear red on Sunday that has they've got other things going on as well. They've got a rallying cry. They can rally behind the fact that they've been doubted all year. because they lost Tyreek Hill to Miami. You can twist and turn, and depending on what lens you look at it in, you can look at it and say everybody's got a different set of motivation to win the game. But when it comes down to playing the game, after the first, 3-4 minutes, after the adrenaline wears off and you've got to actually sit down and line up and play, I want to know I want to know like halfway who to bet on, like prop wise, Alex. And I kind of halfway want to know like, where's the points going to come from? Because I don't see it coming from anybody else. I'm looking at Kelsey and I'm thinking every time, all year, they're going, just stop Kelsey, just stop Kelsey, and he just keeps showing up and keeps doing stuff, keeps ending up open like they didn't see him. I'm like, you're not paying attention. He's huge. He's got 87 on. Go get him. But they don't, and they can't find him. However, Philadelphia's a different animal.
Nick, I think you're spot on in terms of the rallying cry is awesome to make an exciting Super Bowl. It's awesome for us to get in the narrative, to rally around. I think it makes a difference in the regular season, right? Like you can play a team, maybe you have an off week, but because you guys are a group, have each other. We saw it with the Jets. It's going to pick you up and carry you a little farther. You get this farther in the postseason, no broken locker rooms are going into the Super Bowl. If they are, it's like the Monstars walking in because you can all hate each other and still win. Like it just they're all on the same page.
But the fucking Eagles are kind of like the Monstars. Have you seen those guys? AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, that's defense, Cox, Graham. Dude.
They're going to show up because so much fucking money depends on it. Same thing, like from the water boy to the head coach to the players. You show up and play every day. Or you show up and do your job to the best of your ability because that's what you get paid to do. So when you get to this higher level, you're like, holy shit, I could make X amount and have a Super Bowl. There's like, so all I'm saying is,
but
yes,
there
is this narrative here, but the Chiefs are going to be fucking ready.
But the emotion that's not there in the regular season, like you're talking about, like, yeah, they might have an off week, they might have this. The emotion that's not there in the regular season is there now.
Yep.
All those different intangibles and want tos and all those things that mean something that didn't mean something in week 8, week 10, they mean something today. To Johnny's point, you're going to have to rely on the guy who got you there. And when you really trust that guy in this moment where you're emotional, think about how emotional we get in sports. I remember how emotional I got. The more emotional I got, the more reckless I got, and the more off script I got. Having somebody there that's a calm voice, it's a sense of reason that you follow and trust implicitly, calms you in those moments and helps bring you back to kind of a neutral so you can perform and do your job. So, not to say Andy Reid doesn't have that, but this year, Sirianni and the way he's got those guys rallied up and believing it's a Philly thing, and they've got all these different, rallying cries and all these different things they're doing. It's a different vibe there. And it doesn't feel like they're the Monstars and they ain't got no secret sauce. It's
really crazy too, because I flew back to Philly 5 years ago to like watch it in Center City. And I know people had Super Bowl parties, and like Philadelphia is a big enough city, and like especially because you have all of the suburbs of New Jersey and Pennsylvania all kind of like continging for this team. When I tell you when we won 5 years ago, I have never. It's arguably best day of my life, like truly, because they never won. They never won a Super Bowl.
Second best day, yeah.
They never won a Super Bowl the entire time I was alive. Okay. It was their first Super Bowl. And when I tell you, like, drunk with my friends in Center City, just like everybody loving all over each other, people were like trust falling off of bus stops and off of awnings into strangers' arms, and people were catching them. Like, brotherly love is always really interesting to me because we're the city of brotherly love, but brothers are kind of like, they don't always love each other. They're kind of like nitpick and fight and whatever. But at the end of the day, something exciting happens. You and your brother are going to like jump for joy about it, right? Like your team wins. It's a whole thing.
Of course.
The energy of this upcoming Super Bowl feels like that, but like on steroids.
Yeah.
Like the hype for it right? Because we've had our first one and like it's like we got a taste, and like now we like haven't tasted it in 5 years, and we're all just like ready to like OD on Super Bowl, right? So that's why like people are going fucking nuts. Even when we won the NFC Championship 5 years ago, like people went crazy, but I don't even think they went as crazy as they're going now, because we're like coming off of this like record season that we've had. Nick Sirianni is this like kind of like chip on his shoulder type of coach that like the city loves, because we're a chip on our shoulder type of city. We always think we're the underdogs. We always feel like we're being doubted. And that's why, like, you know, it's the Chiefs are like, oh, well, can they do it? This Philly team is so strong. People in Philly aren't hearing that. People are hearing, oh, like this, and like, yeah, but like, what about us? Like, we've been good all season. Like, no matter what you say, people in Philly are going to filter it as like, oh, they're doubting us. Like, we haven't proven ourselves the whole time or whatever. Like,
sounds like they need to go sounds like they need to go talk to somebody.
Oh,
maybe Aaron Rodgers go do some ayahuasca or
a little 4-day retreat in the darkness. I don't know. I'll tell you this. I really appreciate how sweetly you described rioting. It made chaos. You made it sound so nice and sweet. She's like, they just, they trust fall off of bus stops right before the other half of the group falls through the plexiglass on top of 6 other people. And just the way they flip those cars over is just the funnest thing. You've never seen anything like it. It's the best.
I feel like a lot of cities are going to be that.
And they all go nuts, but Philly goes extra. They do it. They don't mess around.
And they fight each other.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like a mosh pit. It's all love, man. It's just like it's like we're just slinging each other around. It's all because, and for the love of the Eagles, right? Let's go.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Nick Sirianni, one of us.
Does the team franchise like have to pay for all the damages done to the city after they win? Because
no.
It's going to be a lot of money.
No, what's interesting though is when we won 5 years ago, that bus stop thing, that was this year, and that was messed up. But 5 years ago, it wasn't that. There were only like.
Were they reinforced back then?
I have no idea. I think we won and people had no idea like exactly how to celebrate, but now we do. And that's why everybody's going crazy. Now it's destruction. But it was like a few years ago, it was like maybe a couple storefronts were broken, which obviously nobody wants that to happen to a business anyway.
Couple Snicker
but
bars
it wasn't
taken, nothing major.
There weren't like tons of cars flipped. Things weren't lit on fire. Like it was actually way more. Like 5 years ago, I was surprised it wasn't worse. I was like really surprised the destruction wasn't worse, truly. And I know that any destruction is not great, but I'm almost afraid for this amount of destruction that could potentially be impending.
Yeah, because you could blame it on like young people not knowing better, but even like your first ever Super Bowl is, guys, girls in their like 60s and 70s who have like literally followed the team forever, who when they won don't know how to feel, are crying, or your second one. It's like it's really cool, but it's a little different, It's like it's a lot different. But
when I saw the trust fall happen, I like grabbed my best friend. I was drunk, but I grabbed her. I was like, "Oh my God, look, it's so beautiful." She's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" It's like, "This is the greatest night of my life," and I just start crying.
Hey, Johnny, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, how many? And maybe you haven't been in any. Have you been in any fights over, with not just even with other Eagles fans, or have you been at bars and, people are talking trash? Because for me, being a Tennessee Vols fan, I say that I could never go to Florida game because I hate the Gators with a very deep, strong passion. And I would get arrested if I went to Gainesville, Florida for a game. So do you have any stories like that?
I've never been in a fight. I have broken up fights. Like I've like gotten in the middle to stop fights. That being said, though,
peacemaker.
No, that being said, though, I have gone to like rival stadiums and I've like mouthed off a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know that I shouldn't. I can be a little mouthy.
Little mouthy.
Like you hear one thing and you've had anyone who's had any type of alcohol, but you hear one thing, it starts chirping back and forth. And before you know it, there you go. But
Kristen doesn't get mouthy.
But even like if we're out and about and like, you know, somebody's talking shit or whatever, like Johny doesn't say like her term for like getting riled up is like, I will straight up go Philly on that man or like whatever it is. And it's like, that shit is coming out.
Well, didn't you say recently?
And it's like it's like the neighbors, like it's like the neighbors like walking their dog and like having them like poop in like the yard or something or others. And she would like, oh, you do not want that to happen with Johny nearby.
Just pick up your dog shit. Why is that so difficult? It's a public sidewalk. Pick up the dog shit. That's not
true anywhere.
Pick up the turd.
I'm with you.
I got you. All right.
We've had Alex had a neighbor say something to him once, and I wasn't there. And he came home and told me about it. And I went, "Who said that to you?" And he's like, "It doesn't matter. Just let it go." And I was like, "Why? I'll go handle it." And then
I put a poop bag in their trash can, and they're like, "Don't use our trash can." And I was like, "Okay." Like it's a trash can in like the middle of the street. Sorry. Yeah, I was like, whatever. One more thing about the Eagles, Nick, and it's very weird. And it's like the perfect scenario of being a dream team when you're only paying your quarterback $4.3 million. Obviously, this is going to be next year is the last year of his rookie contract. Jalen might sit out in the offseason. I know we're a while away from that, but he'll make somewhere between $30 and $45 million a year moving forward. And if you look at the salary of the entire team, who do you think's making the most money on the Eagles this year? It's
Kelsey.
Not a bunch of people making $5, $10, $12 million. I'll tell you that.
I'll say Kelsey.
Jason Kelsey's got a good contract, but Fletcher Cox got a good contract. Brendan Graham's got a good contract.
Kelsey's
I would
fourth.
say Goddard got a good contract, and I would say that AJ Brown did probably get a good contract. Comes from Tennessee.
AJ Brown's making $1 million a year at this point in time. His cap hit is $8 million. Jason Kelce's fourth on the list. His cap hit is $11 million, but he's making base salary $1.5. Darius Slay, the cornerback, is making $17 million. His cap hit is $26 million. And their right tackle, Lane Johnson, making $24 million. But if you go through the cap hits and the base salaries of all these players, there's very few of them making over $1 million a year. And that's how you have a winning franchise and you put together a winning team when it's not like two awesome guys and then everybody else. It's like everyone is making a decent amount of money and your quarterback isn't your highest paid player.
Yeah, I think it's a good recipe. I think that is a testament to the organization. I think they've always been a very good organization. They've always had good players at every level and focused on building their team from inside out, having good offensive and defensive linemen and going back that way. But before we take a quick break, I want to go around the horn here and get everybody's Super Bowl week thoughts and predictions. JJ, I want to know who you think is going to win the game and why. Go.
So a stat that I've been looking into a lot, the Eagles set an NFL record with 4 players recording double-digit sacks this season. It was Reddick, Hargrave, Graham, and Sweat. And so to quote, go back to SEC, the great Bear Bryant, offense sells tickets. You don't have to fucking worry about selling tickets at the Super Bowl. Bear Bryant was correct, and the defense wins championship. So I'm going to take the Eagles. I think they both have a turnover. I think they win by a score. You can tell me that's 3 or 7. I'm fine with either. But I'm gonna fly Eagles fly in this one.
All right, I'm going to take it down bottom right. Joe Hudson, Tweeta.
I said Chiefs last week just to be different, and I'm going to stick with it because I'm a man of conviction. But it's pretty tough to bet against the Eagles. I'll tell you, I came into this call hating the Eagles and really hating the Eagles fans. And I think I'm a little jealous. I think I might be a little jealous. I think that's what it is. I'm a Washington fan, and I think I've realized, like, it's just a dysfunctional everything. Like, I think I might be a little jealous.
You keep going over to your friend's house for dinner, and you're like, wait a second. They don't fight like they do at my house. They got that good shit over here. They don't have Dr. Thunder. They got Dr. Pepper.
It's Dr. Perky. No Dr. Perky.
They got the real deal. Holyfield. They got the real stuff. This is maybe mom and dad is half stepping me at home. Maybe this is maybe Washington is not quite No, I'm just fucking with you.
They
No,
suck,
that's who you love. You got to stick with them. But
I'll stick
I
with the
definitely
Chiefs.
understand the jealousy. If I was a Commanders fan, I'd be jealous of 31 other teams. So you'll have that on them big jobs. Johny, I'm going to ask you who you think's going to win.
I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think that we talked about a little bit, who are they going to go to if not Travis Kelce? I think Andy Reid is a really good coach and he'll have a plan for that. I don't think that it would be wise to doubt the Chiefs in any way. But that being said, I think when push comes to shove and
as it often does in football.
Yes. I think that we are a very difficult team to beat. And I
damn right
bet on us. I bet on us to win the Super Bowl before the season started. So I'm pulling for us so I can get some
what
money.
What were the odds on that, if you don't mind me asking?
They weren't as good as I was hoping they would be. I placed like a $5 bet and I think I win like a couple $100 maybe.
That's still pretty damn good odds. I'll tell you that. That's a good that'll work out for you in the long run, because that'll be a couple $100 you didn't have before. Alex, are the bottom of your shirt is a little darker than the top half of your shirt. So I think it says Fly Eagles.
Fly Eagles.
Oh, there it is. Fly Eagles fly with a I mean, way to go. I mean, that's the way to model a shirt if you're gonna do it. Atta boy.
There it is. This shirt was purchased for me. Not for this podcast. It's okay.
Had to go shopping for the show.
This shirt was purchased for me.
Atta girl.
By me.
I bought his shirt and he bought mine.
Teamwork.
There it is.
Teamwork.
Eagles are going to win this game. I would love for the Super Bowl to be close, but as an advertising man, I'll be paying closer attention to the ads because I think they might be more interesting than this game. I don't think it's going to be close, honestly. And I will go out on a whim and say the Eagles will win by more than 10 points. I will also say that Patrick Mahomes won't finish the game. I really think, like JJ's talking about, they're going to get, I mean, they kicked out every damn San Francisco 49er quarterback. I don't think it'll be that hard to get a hold of Mahomes either. I hope he finishes, and I hope he keeps going back, and I hope it's a good story. I just think the Eagles are too talented on both sides of the ball. I think it might be one of those games where the only way they lose it is if they throw it themselves, like too many turnovers, dumb mistakes, too big for the game type of thing. But honestly, I don't even think that happens either. So, yeah.
All right. So clean sweep on the Eagles, except for Joe. Joe's man of his word. He's going to stick to his guns. He's going to go with the Chiefs.
What about Caleb?
So,
are you guys all Eagles too?
Let's talk. Let's adjust this. What do you say, Caleb?
I do think the Eagles. I had the Bills and the Eagles in the championship game, Super Bowl game. But
Bills.
I know. Should have seen that coming. But I like Jalen Hurts too. Not that that's a reason why they would win. I do think they're strong across the board, offense and defense. So I think they are a really tough team. Like you said, like JJ was talking about defense, they're solid. So I do think it'll be a close game. I feel that. I think they're pretty stacked too from the Chiefs side. I think, it could get very interesting on the injury for, Patrick Mahomes there. But yeah, Jalen Hurts, I like him a lot. And want to see him win too. Just, I thought the way he carried himself at Alabama and just as a person, I want it for him. Kind of more than anybody, but we shall see.
So another Eagles vote. Patrick Mahomes he's got this magic. It's got this it thing.
Magic
and it
Mahomes.
it doesn't matter whether you like him or not. You can sit there and stare at him and you can go, man, I'm just kind of Mahomed out. Doesn't matter.
It's the white turtleneck.
It might be the white turtleneck.
It's so stupid. It looks so stupid.
It's the
so
white
stupid.
turtleneck. It's the white turtleneck and the little curly cues out of his back of his mohawk.
So dumb.
But at any rate, you're right about all those things. Travis Kelce. greatest tight end that's ever played the game. And I'm saying that he is now. And he's got a lot more years under his belt, and it will continue to be more obvious as he continues to play. Gronk who? I'm telling you, Kelsey is going to be that. His numbers are that staggering and will continue to be, especially if he sticks with Andy Reid and Mahomes. Isaiah Pacheco runs the ball harder than anybody I've seen come into the league and run the ball. He hits the hole. He hits it hard. He pops up. He's running back to the huddle. He's got energy. He is a special, special player. MVS had a career day, and it was a career day. He has shown that he doesn't have that week in and week out. Whatever the other fella, the rookie, what's the rookie's name with the weird name? Sky Moore. Sky Moore, very fast. Could be a game changer in a punt return, something like that. But as a rookie, can't step up out of nowhere in 2 weeks to prepare for the Super Bowl and be a guy. Can't. Juju, not a guy. He's not a guy. He doesn't have the makeup for it. He didn't at USC. He didn't in Pittsburgh. And he didn't in Kansas City. He's a great athlete. He can play a lot. He can do a lot of great things, but he's not a number one. He is a Robin. He is not a Batman. McCole Hardman's out. When Kansas City cannot block the Eagles and Mahomes is under duress like he was against Cincinnati, if not more so, probably more so. And you blanket Travis Kelce, there's nowhere to go to the ball. Eagles by a fucking landslide. I agree with Alex. It's more than 10 points. I take the over 50 because I think KC's definitely going to score, but I think that the Eagles put a fucking boot print on this season with I told you. We've been doing it all year, and I think they just stomp it down and they put a stamp on it, and they finish out a great year, and then we're going to have to decide how much we got to pay Jalen Hurts next year. That's what I think. So with that, you soak on that, take a quick break. We will be back with Shower Thoughts with JJ. This week's Shower Thoughts with JJ is sponsored by Lawn Value. Experience the best. It's what we do.
Shower Thoughts with JJ.
So when do you decide it's time to replace your underwear? Kids today have no idea what the grind that dial-up internet is. They're there to cradle my taters. So until they're not cradling my taters, I'm rocking with them. They're holding my tater set. That's when it's time for underwear replacement. Showed a little side boob, put a computer in the family room and watch that kid grow to adversity.
Vagina stories.
Hey, why's the printer out? And I scooted. She woke up to me with my hand in a bag of Cheetos. I was stumbling and bumbling. Two tall boys to get a shot.
You got to stop pooping your pants.
And I trusted a fart and lost. Alrighty, guys, shower thoughts this week. I was in the shower this week, and I was thinking about many moons ago when my broke ass was playing college baseball. We went to this place called Jackson, Mississippi, which if you haven't been to Jackson, Mississippi, save yourself a trip. It is the absolute butthole of the South. Brutal place. So anyhow, long story short, our van got broken into and somebody stole out all of our medical records, which nobody gives a shit, right? Until 3 years later when I go and I'm living in Nashville, Tennessee, and I realized somebody's made a fake credit card in my name and spent $5,000 on fucking McDonald's, a nail salon, and getting their hair done. And I'm like, well, clearly this isn't me. So after that whole thing, it made me think, if I had $5,000 in free money, what the fuck would I do? And until about 30 seconds ago, I didn't realize how on brand this was about to be. But Alper and I, when we went to Nick's bachelor party, the first thing we connected on was this Toronto toilet. And the reason I'm saying I'm going $5,000 in on this fucking toilet is you walk in there, the seat lifts up for you. You sit down, it has a heating seat. It has the bidet on bottom that has like 5 different modes and a fan. I've never had one, a cleaner butthole in my life. And 2, I'll be honest, the entire time I was in my hotel room, I sit on that toilet. If I could have slept on the toilet, I would have been sleeping on that toilet. So tossing it out there. Alper knows this toilet. Would love to hear his thoughts on it too. But I think that's where I'm at on $5,000 free money.
Is that how much the toilet costs? Is $5,000?
$5,000 toilet.
Yep.
Oh,
It's a $5,000 toilet. So your credit card got stolen, and you looked at all the shit that they bought, and it made you sit there and you were like, you know what? If I stole somebody's credit card, what would I buy? The first thing you're buying is a toilet. You got $5,000. You're buying the Toronto toilet with the bidet, the seat warmer, the fan. It's the whole thing. Now, are we talking about the one that's got the where the spray moves backwards and forward to hit the right spot?
It's got the swirl, you name it.
Oh, the swirl.
The thing swirls around. It's got Alfred's got a video. It's that incredible of a toilet. When I opened up the door and it flipped open and I saw this panel, it's like a tablet of different options. I was like, this is going to change my life. And I went back and I was like, I need to get that in my house, however I have to do it.
Okay, so my uncle put something similar to this into his house, but when you walk into his bathroom, the seat opens for you on motion sensor. It sees you coming and it goes, oh, you got to do?
Yep.
Sit right here, bud. It starts when the seat goes up, the heater starts so that by the time your cheeks hit it, it's warm.
So, you know what I find interesting? The irony of this. The person who is still working very hard at 30 years old to not poop his pants wants a $5,000 toilet. So you're still doing number 2 in your pants, but you want a $5,000 toilet.
Maybe the toilet's the motivation he needs
breaker.
to get there on time.
Yeah.
I'll just sit there for 6 hours a day. Like it solves itself. I'm gonna take my laptop. I'm gonna put it right.
You'll be like Joey Tribbiani in Friends when he was so excited about the phone next to the toilet. He's like, look, there's a phone next to the toilet. Like you're gonna be on the toilet all the time, doing work, making calls. I'm like, JJ, what's happening? And you'll be like, nothing, just waiting on a poop. Because you're always in, but it's either just got done or I'm fixing to. So you're always in tween some pooping. So what a seat.
I'm just drying off. Just hang out.
Oh man.
Well, my parents have one in the guest
bathroom. They do.
The very first time that Nick came over and met my parents, and we're all hanging out, and all of a sudden I look around and he's gone, and he's gone to the bathroom. I was like, Mom, did you warn him about the toilet? Because it's right there. It's the downstairs bathroom that everyone uses. And she was like, no. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what he's thinking. That's literally was my first thought. Did you warn him about the toilet?
No. So I walked in there and I just sat down. I just, I had to go, it was one of those things, like it'd been a day. So I sat down and I'm like, all right, I'm already doing number 2 in her mother's house. So there's already like that frame of mind. Right. But when I sit down, there's like this whole panel of controls off to the side of it. And when I sat down, it started to make, I'm like, what's happening? Like, I don't know. I had no idea what I'd sat down on. I did not know that this thing had all these capabilities. I didn't know that it automatically did things. I didn't know that there was going to be immediately like a thing go like right underneath my butt. Like I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a fan. I didn't know any of these things. But the curiosity was crazy because I wanted to see what it was about so bad. But the last thing I wanted to do was on my first trip over to her mom's house to be like having to call in the fire department because like I hit the wrong button. I can't get it off. Now my pants are wet. I'm just in here just like, I got my pants around my ankles and I'm just like, this thing spraying out of the toilet. There's a bunch of poop in there. It's a whole problem. Like, I don't know whether I can flush it or not. There was too many questions, not enough answers, and nobody around to ask them. So I just decided to do my business regular OG style. I just did it and flushed it. And I walked out, hit a little on the spray, and it was over. And I moved on. And I walked out and they're all looking at me. I'm like, what? And they're like, well,
how was it?
How was it? And I'm like, I didn't hit any buttons. Thank you. I'm not that curious. But I know y'all are in here waiting on me.
Yeah.
They're waiting on me to holler for help is what they were waiting on. Me to be like,
awkward after.
the toilet spraying and spitting at me. Come help me. But I didn't do it. I was equal parts curious as equal parts frightened. So the possibilities of what could happen way outweighed the could have a cleaner butthole. But I'm also like, don't change my life because I don't have one at home and I'm not about to spend the money to, to upgrade my regular, toilet to one of these.
You're crazy. You need to humble brag. Not really humble brag. My baseball team, the Seattle Mariners, hadn't been to the playoffs in 7,648 days. That's half of my life, almost 21 years. And the first time they made it to the playoffs was this past year, and it was in Toronto. So I hit up my good friend Nate, and he flew up with me. Johny was also running a marathon that weekend in Chicago, and she was like, "If you don't make it to my marathon, I will go Philadelphia on your ass." And I was like, "Oh shit, I'll be there, babe."
You don't want that. You do not want that.
Don't blame her.
Exactly. So
bad. It's bad news.
Nate works for Marriott, and so we ended up with a hotel room at the Ritz. And that happened to be where my team, the Seattle Mariners, were staying. We didn't know that at the time. And when we walked into this very nice looking hotel room, overlook the CN Tower, you walk into the bathroom and all of a sudden the toilet cover lifts and you're like, what? And it's like, once again, I've sat on thousands of toilets before to do my business. But never before have I had like a mind-altering, earth-shattering, this is the greatest thing of all time toilet experience that I did in Toronto. So much so that I was like, we don't even need to go out. I'm just going to hang out in the bathroom.
So
it's incredible.
It's that glorious. Is it okay?
It is incredible.
I've heard people say that once they excuse me, my leg was itching. I've heard people say that once they use the squatty potty, that it's no going back after they use the squat. Is this a similar thing to that, JJ? Has anybody ever used the squatty potty? Is that fad?
Squatty potty's good. I can go with or without it.
Johnny's like, yep.
It wasn't that life changing for me, but I have no problem hitting the number 2, as we're well aware. If you put a TV and a kegerator in with that toilet, I don't know that y'all would ever see me again. That's where I'm at with this one.
I'm not far away from that. That thing was incredible. And my anus had never been so clean in my life. And I was like, why doesn't everyone have this? It was mind-altering experience. Aside from the Mariners then winning both games and me making it to Chicago right in time for her marathon. But yeah.
Was it as mind-altering as you saying anus?
Probably not.
Prepare somebody for that. You gotta put like a disclaimer before the episode starts.
Very true.
Yeah. By the way, we're gonna say stuff like anus tonight, folks. You better hold on.
Clean
and moist. Anus and
moist.
And we're also gonna say things like slippy instead of slippery.
I will be sure to share to the StacheCast audience the reel that I made of that toilet, which I already shared with JJ. And if you'll notice, as I'm giving a brief tour on the way to the bathroom, there is a baseball game on TV, a playoff game. And what team is playing, JJ?
Little guard dogs.
Guardians on TV. It was like the perfect video
against Tampa Bay, I believe.
You got the Guardians playing while you've got a $5,000 golden plated bidet toilet. Guardians are on. It's a magical night.
The Lakers are also playing, and LeBron is about to he's halfway to breaking the record tonight.
Now. For all those keeping track at home, I went out ahead and said, you know what, I'm betting on the guy to beat the record tonight. I mean, it's a better story to say I scored 37 and when I beat it than I scored, on my third point of the second game, right? So I bet on him to beat it tonight. We'll see if he does it. I'm not a huge LeBron fan, but you cannot argue for 1 second that is an amazing record. That I'll be honest, when Mike didn't do it, Kobe didn't do it. I never thought it'd be broken, but Kobe's, LeBron is definitely going to do it, and he's going to put a number up there that is probably unattainable. I don't see in this day and age, even with the guys that scoring the way that they do, the longevity of the career. God, it's hard to think that somebody's going to beat that record. But where's he at right now? Has he got about 18?
He's got 19. There's like 6 minutes left in the first half against my OKC Thunder. So
Okay.
we'll be there for that. Sounds like.
Okay. Sounds
I'm
like
just
Go
looking out. I
Sonics.
pick all the winners in sports, by the way, guys, in case anybody wants to follow a real,
yeah.
real gem of
Yeah.
fan.
Whoever, if you're wearing their jersey or hat, bet against them. Probably not going to go well.
I'll say though that like LeBron was going to break that record if he just stayed around long enough. Like, I just think he's basically made like Kareem made 1 3-pointer his entire career, right? There was not really threes. He's got 2,250 extra points on threes, I think, than Kareem. He averages way more free throws than Kareem did in his career. He's made like 1,000 points more on just free throws alone. Those things, I think he's played low like 150 less games than Kareem. It's just crazy, like crazy stats, man. Definitely not somebody that I'll ever put at the top. But if you didn't grow up watching Jordan, I don't know how you could not watch LeBron and just think this guy is the best basketball player of all time. It's crazy.
The numbers part of it is interesting to me because you talk about the 3-point game, you talk about the free throw game. I don't think that I think that he'll beat it by way more than 3,000. I think he'll have, he's got 78 and change.
Mm-hmm.
I think he ends his career with what, 85,000 points out of question. I mean, he's going to play at least 2 more years, right?
I mean, he wants to play with all 3 of it, with both of his kids, which will probably be like 4 years.
Right. So if he plays 1 year with Bryce, which is not likely, he plays next year's out. So that's 1 year, at least 1 more year. Then Bronny is eligible the next year, which is the year 2. And then then that year, Bryce is a senior, because he'll be a junior. Yeah. Then he'll be a senior. Then you've got 2 more years. So you've got, what's that make that? You said 4, right?
Well, he'll rest.
So 4 years. 4 years and 60 games? He's not going to play, he's not going to play all the games. He's going to play about 60 games.
He's got 1 season in his whole career with 82 games and only 3 seasons, I think, with 80 or more games.
Right.
So
nobody plays 82
So give him
anymore,
another 250 games.
Jordan played 82
if he has
last season.
Okay, let's just say for the sake of argument, he plays 250 more games over the course of 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's about
62 a game.
That's about 60 a year. 62 a year. 62 and a half. If he has 10 points a game, that's 2,500 points.
No, that's 600. 62 games? Oh, per season. Sorry, yeah, my bad. Total 2,500 points. Gotcha.
Yeah. We're talking about career.
So I started on a circle there that nobody else was on, but I did come back around, and now you can keep going.
Yeah, but the point is, it was different eras, and there's a lot of different things involved, and I agree with you that record puts him in the conversation because of the sheer magnitude of what that Mike couldn't do it, Kobe couldn't do it. That's the fact that Kareem, the points that Kareem scored was unattainable. It's kind of like Gretzky's a points record. It's one of those ones that you're just like, there's no way. I really didn't even believe that Ovechkin would get close to the goals one. When you talk about records over there, but when you talk about LeBron and what he's done over the course of his career, love him or hate him in his politics and what have you, whatever. If you give a shit, great. If you don't, great. But on the court, the dude is a problem, and he has been since he came in the league. Even I remember watching him in high school when the nationally televised game, and he just absolutely shredded. And I was just like, this dude's going to be a fucking beast for a long time. I didn't think it was going to be, almost 20 years, long time.
It's 20 years. It's 20 seasons.
But then I didn't think that, I wasn't like, oh, this guy's going to be the best player in the league for 20 years.
He's got 7,500 plus extra points just in the playoffs. He's played over 3 extra full seasons in the NBA just in playoff games. He's got like 260 plus playoff games. He's got over 3 extra seasons. He's basically played 23 seasons in the NBA.
Right. And for the people who sit there and say, oh, well, he played more games in playoff games, but he earned those games. And
those points don't count, though. They don't count towards the total points. They don't even count.
I know. But when you talk about the sheer
Really?
magnitude
They
of
don't
what
count?
he's done. No,
Not
it's
not
regular
the total.
season points.
Yeah.
No, the Cream's record is regular season points.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the sheer magnitude of what he's done, including the playoffs, the triple doubles in the playoffs, and all the different things, the numbers are staggering. The numbers are staggering, but I've watched him play a lot, and I've only seen what Michael Jordan brought to the table a dozen times in his 20 years. I've seen it, but it's not been something that I've seen a lot. He's just been so physically dominant for so long that he's amassed all these records, and he's made everybody say, well, he's got to be the GOAT. He's got all these records. He's done all these things. Yeah. If you put, eras and this and that, it's all apples and oranges. But what one thing stands alone is that LeBron's records in his career are nothing short of astronomical. They're unbelievable. He's an ungodly talent that I can't believe that we were able to live in the same lifetime to see Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Kobe Bryant and some of these other guys. Like, I think there's the sheer magnitude of what these guys have done in their career is amazing. And I'm just a fan of it. I'm a fan of what they're doing. And the fact that we get to see it, it's just really cool. I love to see history. I love to see history, and I love to see records getting broken and new records being set. It's just something that's cool to me, even though, I don't have any records that have ever been broken. So I don't know how that part of it feels, but from a fan's perspective, I sure do think it's fun.
You don't have any broken records? You guys all got broken records, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe.
Come on, man.
I don't know if I got any, but
I live with a
tell you
broken record.
Oh, man.
I did the most push-ups ever in the
Johnny,
hot
you've got a long list of things that you do. I don't think that you could. I don't know if you could ever be a broken record trying to repeat your resume and all the different things that you've been on. But I'm really excited. Before we move into our next segment with Alex, I do want to dig into what you've been up to lately in your career and what you've been, something cool, something that us hillbillies out in Nashville would never get to experience. What have you been up to? You've been on any shows or getting ready to do anything that we would have known of yet?
Right now it's a lot of auditioning. So just getting auditions, and we're still self-taping. So getting to audition on a tape at home and submitting it. Which is a thing that has happened because of the pandemic. We're not just like going in for first face auditions anymore. So that's been kind of like a fun process to really get the hang of. I mentioned the Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee voiceover job. And I do a lot of voiceover work. I'm currently finishing up the third novel of an audiobook trilogy.
Cool.
All in a British accent. So that is the thing that I'm finishing right now. That is very exciting.
I would be hard for me to turn on and off. I would always be doing it, and then I feel like my American would sound terrible and my English accent would sound even worse if I was trying to go back and forth. But that's why you get paid the big bucks, right? That's why you do what you do.
Can you give us a sampling of your British accent?
I think the Irish one's even better.
I can do both, actually, if you'd like me to do both.
Yes.
Would you be keen on that?
Like that.
Yes,
That was so good.
Can
you go back and forth like bam, 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 bam? Or
do you have hard.
Or do you have to mentally get clocked into a new accent?
A little bit, because my Irish accent is a little bit more in the front of my mouth, actually. So when I'm working in my Irish accent, it's sitting here. But when I'm working in my British accent, it's sitting more in here. So when you're going British, you're carrying it in your throat and your nose. When you're going Irish, when you're going Irish, you're carrying it in the front, really.
That's so good.
I love it. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
and that makes perfect sense when you think about it in the front, and you can You can kind of like tell that never would have.
JJ's
thought that.
brain is about to blow off.
We're all gonna go practice that as soon as this is over. All of us are just gonna like go in the mirror and practice that.
That's
Sounded-
incredible. Well
Both
done.
sounded phenomenal. Yes.
Thanks.
I got one accent that's a country dumbass, so God bless you. That's incredible.
You're Midwestern.
Yeah, you want to be.
You want to be.
You're like
Southern.
my buddy.
That's
you're
proof.
Like
He was
you're
wrong
like my
about what
buddy
he
Matt.
said.
You're like my buddy Ben. He wants to be a redneck so bad. He's like, you're a proper redneck. You know, I'm like, nah.
Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew. Well, shout out to Matthew. He'll be coming back to Tennessee one day soon, but he's over in Europe taking care of family business, doing things with his brother, his business, doing some stuff. I think he might be coming back into the States in a few months, but I think he'll just miss us for the wedding. But we wish the best to Matt and his beautiful wife, Dara, over in the UK. But we are going to transition quickly over to my man, Alex, for sports business with the professor. Sports business with the professor.
Gonna get learned up, but there's so much money behind sports. His name is Mattress Mac.
OG discount double check.
Won $75 million. Damn, if I marry her, she'll be the cheapest employee that I have. Here's $3,000 you can put underneath that mattress. Without TV, there literally would not be any more sports. That shit went viral. Love it. Love it. Sponsored by insert company here. Yeah. So this is the sports business segment. I am the professor, Alex Alper, and this is the Super Bowl week. So we are going to talk about the business behind the Super Bowl, because as much as all of us are really excited to see two football teams play each other, the NFL really doesn't care. Like, they're printing money. They are the utopian league, the utopian model for all of sports. They make the most money. They have a hard salary cap. Any team can win every year. It is ridiculous, right? So the NFL this last year made roughly, and we don't know for sure, roughly $19 billion in revenue last year. The team sponsorship, you combined all 32 teams, the amount of money they made just sponsorship wise, just over $2 billion. If you add what the league made as well, $2.7 billion just in sponsorship alone. They've made so much money this year that the salary cap, which was at $208.2 million, is estimated to move up $18 million to $220 million next year. That would be the biggest single year leap the NFL has ever had. Why? Why are they making so much more money this year?
Probably
you guys tell
because
me
of
why.
it's got anything to do with the TV rights and the streaming.
Yep. Increase money in the TV rights. Why else? Something we're really interested here on this show.
Betting?
More podcasts, more shows,
betting.
more YouTube, more betting.
More,
There you go.
it's betting, right? So each team was able to add, or a lot of the teams were able to add literally a new area in their sponsorship contract, and that had to do with sports betting. A lot of that increased revenue for sponsorship 40%. And that's huge. Anytime the NFL can make more money. So the Super Bowl itself, which this year is going to be in Glendale, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix at State Farm Stadium. State Farm Stadium holds about 63,400 people. But for their big events, they can increase that to about 73,000. Not sure how many they're actually going to get in there. But the NFL is in good shape, you guys. They've signed a labor deal till the end of the year 2030. So times are good. Revenues are up. All these teams are printing money, basically. And this Super Bowl is going to be probably one of the biggest. Well, basically every Super Bowl ends up topping the year before, right? 6,000 media passes for this year's Super Bowl. Viewership, about 200 million people across the world will watch the Super Bowl.
Crazy.
200 million people. About 99 million people in the United States are going to watch. Nick, how many people watched the World Cup final around the world, for perspective?
Gosh, I feel like 50 to 100 million would have been a lot. I feel like 50 million, 100 million was probably something that I would have guessed.
1.5 billion people across the world watch the World Cup final. That's just to give you some perspective. So 200 million people will watch the Super Bowl. 1.5 billion people watch the World Cup final. 26 million people in the US watch the World Cup final.
So
Versus,
you're talking 20% of the population versus almost, a fifth.
Wow.
Yeah. And this year in Arizona, they also have the Waste Management Open that's happening at the same time. They don't track attendance anymore for the Waste Management Open because it's such a shit show. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's literally the first golf event where you can go and kind of heckle golfers. You can make noise. It's ridiculously fun.
It's
and
a frat
big
party.
booze fest.
It's a frat party at a golf course. It's a fucking blast. If you've never been, you should go.
Jackass.
It's a great time. I can't imagine playing golf in those conditions, but watching it on TV, it's one of my favorite golf events every year. I cannot wait to watch it until Sunday, because obviously Sunday I'll have other stuff going on.
In 2018, they had 719,000 people go to the Waste Management Open. But like I said, they don't track that anymore. They're estimated to get around 200,000 people on Saturday alone. That'll be at the TPC in Scottsdale. So that's happening at the same time of the Super Bowl, right? And one of the things that people talk about when they talk about the Super Bowl are the ads. Okay. How much is the average Super Bowl ad this year? Does anybody know?
For what? A 30-second commercial?
30-second spot in the Super Bowl. How much?
Jeez, it's got to be what?
5
Close
million?
to 5
3
million now?
3 to 5 million?
$7 million this year for a 30-second spot.
Christ.
7 mil.
That is
Can you
of those
imagine?
toilets.
Hey,
Toilets
Kristen,
could you
as a
buy?
marketing person, can you imagine being on the hook for a $7 million commercial that you
No.
got on the deadline for that?
Well, no, and I know, people that have, and you plan your whole year around that. I mean, if you're going after that, it's a full year long or more than that.
That's all you do all year, right? Is that 30-second commercial, give or take?
Yeah.
14
No, because
You
it doesn't
guys,
take
you
that
guys are
long
the
to
you
do
guys
it,
are the
but-
marketing guys, so you would know more than I would.
Yeah. I mean, I'm working with numerous companies that have a Super Bowl ad, and we haven't been working on them all year. So, but it's a big one, right? And it's a big commitment. So you decide years in advance that it's something that you're going to do. But prices of ads have doubled in the last 10 years, literally doubled in the last 10 years. And so usually when you're watching the Super Bowl, you are going to see a Budweiser ad, right? And the Budweiser has had some iconic ads from not the Turtles, the Frogs, to the What's Up
Clydesdales.
guys,
Yeah.
Clydesdales.
Or
Yes. What's up? Like, always iconic. Well, the reason that you've always seen those Budweiser ads is they paid $250 million a year to have exclusivity during the Super Bowl. They sponsored the Super Bowl. No other alcohol could run during the Super Bowl since 1989.
still to this day?
Nope. It is over this year. So this year, Budweiser will have a Bud Light ad, a Michelob Ultra ad, and a Busch Light ad. But now other alcohol companies can jump in too. So there's going to be a Miller Lite ad, a Miller Lite Coors Light ad from Molson Coors. There'll be a Heineken ad, a Crown Royal ad. There'll be a Remy Martin ad. And this is all new to the Super Bowl because exclusivity used to be owned by Budweiser.
And at 200, so I guess if 250 million a year got them exclusivity for the whole thing, then those different spots, if you split it up, they got to be going for God knows what. If it's an alcohol ad, right? Does it matter? Does it fluctuate based on like what the product genre is or whatever?
Doesn't fluctuate by the product genre. The price fluctuates when your ad airs. So like the last ad or the first ad going into the Super Bowl, or literally the very first commercial break versus the last one after the fourth quarter, or the first one during the 2-minute warning. Like those can fluctuate, but on average prices are $7 million for this year.
Wow.
So we'll see a lot of companies just insert a celebrity Budweiser is dealing with Kevin Bacon this year, and they're trying to market to a younger audience. So like we'll see. I've seen some previews for it. We'll see what happens.
So Alex,
the
I have
value
a
of
quick
having
question.
go ahead.
Quick
Go for
question
it.
for you. Why do you think that Budweiser is, it ends this year? Why do you think they're not renewing that? I think it just doesn't yield enough ROI for them. They don't feel it's the right market, or
They're not. They're now owned by InBev, which owns a lot of beer brands, and I don't know if they can just people aren't buying Budweiser, and even though InBev owns a ridiculous number of other products and other beers, it just maybe didn't make financial sense for them anymore. Like they didn't need exclusive rights because they can still pay and get a bunch of Super Bowl ads. They just don't own it anymore.
Crap
but it's
beers
not their
over,
choice because now they're buying.
Well, JJ buys Bud Light and gross. I've seen it.
Coors.
I mean, I'm talking troughs full.
Coors.
He drinks Coors Light, but he had a party and he bought so much Bud Light you could fill up a truck with it.
I got 4 cases of Bud Light, 6 cases of Coors Light, but I definitely ain't buying Budweiser. Might as well put that in a fucking tin can.
No Bud Heavy for JJ.
Probably more
Watching his weight.
than Budweiser.
The economic impact of having the Super Bowl in your city, they've blown this out of proportion. Like, oh, it's going to be $1 billion going to come to the local economy. The NFL is like, oh, it's going to be somewhere between $300 and $400 million that you're going to make. It's probably about 25% of that, somewhere around $100 million. Obviously, tourism is going to increase. They estimated in LA that about 150,000 people last year came just for the Super Bowl. But when you talk about the Super Bowl itself and the actual fan experience, that's where you learn that the Super Bowl is very much so not for the fans. If we talk about the tickets alone, right? 35% of the tickets are split between the Eagles and the Chiefs. So 17.5% each, right? The 29 other teams, the 30 other teams, they split another 35% of the tickets. The host, so Arizona, they get 5% of the tickets. And then the leftover percentage, that's owned by the NFL, and that's going to all the sponsors. That's why it is so expensive to buy a ticket, because there are very few. We're talking maybe a couple thousand tickets that are actually available to fans. Obviously, the Chiefs and the Eagles will give some to let their season ticket holder base buy into it, people that have suites and all of that stuff. But you still have to be spending a lot of money or been a long-standing season ticket holder, even to get the opportunity to buy those tickets. So if you look on the secondary market, the average price to buy a ticket this year's Super Bowl is around $6,500. And prices will continue to go down the closer you get to the game. I think I looked yesterday and the cheapest ticket was $4,500 on StubHub. But if you're trying to find a place to stay, your average Airbnb, $1,800 a night, if you want to be anywhere close. So maybe save that money on the tickets and you're going to spend it on the hotels.
Holy crap. How's that possible? Because when you look at when they span across and see everybody, you wouldn't think that from a fan base perspective, you would not think.
If you've ever been to one, I've heard that it's that way though. It feels very corporate. Super Bowls are not very enjoyable from a fan perspective. It's very corporate. Johny, I thought you were about to pop out of your seat there for a second. What did you have something that you wanted to say?
I did. We were talking, Alex mentioned how, teams will take an allotment of their tickets to give to their fan bases, their season ticket holders, the people who, give into the pot of selling the tickets. The Eagles renewal rate for season tickets is 99.7% renewal rate. And the 0.3% is just people who die off. That's the only way to become a season ticket holder, by the way.
It's like Augusta. It's like getting a membership at Augusta. You got to wait till somebody goes to Jesus before you could get on there. And
we'll have another segment when we talk about ticket sales, and we'll get into you can't have every seat at your stadium can't be a season seat holder seat. The reason for having season seats is the ability to be guaranteed a playoff ticket. That is the reason that you're buying your season tickets, so that when playoffs come around, you're guaranteed to be able to buy your seat for the playoffs. And every stadium, every sport is only allowed to offer a specific amount because all those other seats are owned by the league. And especially for jeweled events like this one. So Pepsi for the last 10 years has sponsored the halftime show, and they weren't paying a ton of money. And so now they've sold that to Apple Music or to Apple. And that's another $50 million that the NFL will make on that. Now the NFL does give back, they have a charitable arm. So they will go into a city and they will say, all right, we will give $2 million worth of grants to various nonprofits. So there is somewhat of a good side of this. But as it relates back to betting, which all of us like to do, even Miss Walsh with her Super Bowl bet, she actually also bet that the Eagles were going to play. Did you bet Eagles-Bills, right? Yeah, she also bet Eagles-Bills, which obviously Caleb was thinking the same thing.
Great mindset.
She bet that before the season. Yeah, she bet that before the season started. So if that would have won, she would have paid off more. But this year, there's an estimated that 50.4 million people are going to bet on the Super Bowl. That is 20% of the population will make a Super Bowl bet this year. And there is an estimation that it'll be worth about $16 billion spent on betting on the Super Bowl. Now, you guys know I'm not a huge bettor, but come the Super Bowl, please believe that's when I get all into it. Like I'm betting hundreds of dollars on the damn national anthem, and I'm betting on the Gatorade color.
The Gatorade color.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting all the how many times they showed Tom Brady or they mentioned Tom Brady. Like
all right,
all
it sounds like what we need to do is we're gonna do a quick, maybe 5 to 10 minute little short segment. We're gonna jump on and we're gonna talk about nothing but sports, but the prop bets and all the different things from the Super Bowl that we're going to bet on for this Sunday's game. We'll have it out before the game starts so that if anybody wants to jump on this stuff, you can. But I think that sounds like something that would be an absolute blast because I'd love the conversations about how long the national anthem will be, the Gatorade color, heads or tails, whether they'll take the south end zone, north end zone, all of those stuff
for this one. Yeah.
No, we're gonna have to do that, but we'll have to do a little digging, I guess, and I think that we'll have to, research it a little bit. You don't want to, you want to go in totally
search it for us.
Yeah,
I will do some work for all of you guys as I always do. 61% increase in betting this year, and a large reason for that because now there's more places that you can bet. Last year, you couldn't bet. Now you can make a bet in Kansas, in Ohio, in Maryland, in Massachusetts. So you can legally go down to the street and make yourself a sports bet. Now, for Miss Walsh and everyone who is thinking the Eagles are going to win, according to Caesars, sponsor us, 73% of the bets, 74% of all of the money wagered on the Eagles. Usually that means you go the opposite way.
We want to go away from the money, away from where the people are betting, away from the bet. But hey, sometimes it's just one of those things where everybody's like, well, it's clearly so obvious. It's only a 1
right,
spread,
and then it doesn't.
So
it's a money-making scenario.
We'll dig into that. There's a bunch of props there. I think that once we dig into some of these things and what the return would be with what the money line would be on, certain guys' receptions. We'll see if there's anybody to score a touchdown. And I'm interested to see what the money lines are for the Gatorade color and the national anthem, because you said that you used to work really closely with somebody who booked all the national anthem guys when you worked with the Angels. So you have a catalog of information when it comes to
insider
national anthems.
Knowledge.
So we're looking forward to hearing some of that. But this has been amazing, guys. I've had an absolute blast tonight. Johny, thank you so much for being here with us and helping Kristen keep us in line. Lord knows that's a full-time job.
Tonight.
Thanks for having me.
She took it off.
Your invitation is open to come back and join us anytime you want to. We loved having you. And fly, Eagles, fly, right? Is that right? Is that how they say it? I don't know the whole song, but we'll just Go Birds, Fly Eagles, Fly Crew. Beautiful job tonight. I loved every second. Thank you to all of you guys who are still listening and supporting us. You got no idea how grateful we are and how much we love it. Be a friend, tell a friend, go tell somebody about the show. Go follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Nashville Stash. You can follow us on YouTube. It's at StacheCast on YouTube. Full episodes. We've got segment breakdowns with Sports Business with the Professor. We got the breakdowns with JJ Shower Thoughts. And hopefully soon we'll have some other stuff that we're going to do. There's some other things to come up with as we talk about the other sports that are going to become more prevalent as football fades away in about 8 days. So again, we appreciate you guys laughing along with us. We look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, be good, be well. We love you big. StacheCast out.
Come on, take me on your UFO. Yeah, on your UFO. I've been on some other shit, just lost my fucking brother shit. Now I think it's time to beam myself back to the mothership. J-Rock is my co-pilot, that's the one that I hover with. Love the way we stubborn like we rule our own government. We come through so thunderous, like everybody else is under us. I might go like a Chevy when the going gets heavy, but you know I ain't really on the up and up. And so I step up to the plate day in, day out, swinging my uppercut. When I cut a rug and I'm dancing and I'm grinding up some buttercup. Just kidding, from the minute I get in my zone, anywhere in my home, don't interrupt. My home is the whole world, on a UFO dying to live it up. Sip it up, drink it up, chug it up, throw it up, sleep it up, break it up, shake it up, bake it up, choke it up, smoke it up. Know it all, baby, so go with the flow when you know that I made it up. In a minute, safe haven.